also up in LinkedIn. So we're trying to make sure that we've got it in avenues that people can access, recognising, of course, that not everybody is engaged on Facebook. Our company, Pinnacle People Solutions, provides human resource services and solutions to regionally based small to medium enterprises and not-for-profit organisations, and we are here to help you 24/7 and your business through these challenging COVID-19 times. So since last Thursday and moving forward, I'll be live at 9:15 every weekday to give you updates on new information that has come forward in the last 24 hours that you need to be aware of as employers and employees. In addition, we'll be doing some deep dives into particular topics that our audience is asking for us to do. And those will obviously be relating to staffing and business management. So please ask any questions you have as we go along. I'll do my best to answer them in the live stream. However, I may need to take them on notice and come back to you within 24 hours, so on the next day's live stream, and answer those. Obviously, outside of this, you can contact me or our wonderful team anytime via Facebook, private messenger, email or telephone. Details are going to be provided in the comments for today's live stream. So just quickly, in terms of breaking news or big changes overnight, so just to reinforce the federal and the New South Wales state government and other states for that matter, the requirements around social distancing and remaining at home unless you need to exit the home for essential services. So just a reminder about that, the more we stay at home and the more we stay out of each other's company in that respect, the greater chance we have to slow this and also to reduce ultimately the toll on our most vulnerable members of society in terms of the outcome of this particular pandemic. So in addition to reminding you about that, we've received news that the Fair Work Commission, so the Fair Work Commission obviously is the presiding body over the national employment system, including all of the modern awards, 122 of those that there are. The Fair Work Commission have made a statement that they are considering introducing a number of changes to about 80 of the modern awards. And I'm just going to find that information for you in terms of what they're looking to do. If you just bear with me a moment. Okay. I'll get that information for you and we'll provide it up in the links. So the Fair Work Information Statement has just issued a statement proposing on its own initiative to vary approximately 80 of the modern awards. And there's several components of that they're looking to vary. The first is to provide up to 2 weeks unpaid leave for an employee required to self-isolate or is otherwise prevented from working because of measures taken by government or medical authorities in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Secondly, to allow an employer and an employee to agree to take double annual leave on half pay. The Commission has, in its statement, also encouraged parties to bring forward award variations to combat COVID-19, similar to those that have been made to the Clerks Private Sector Award earlier this week, and I have put up some information on Facebook and also our website about that. With those changes of which were introduced on Saturday, there's also been changes to there's changes forecast as well to the Hospitality Award. These changes that the Fair Work Commission have talked about in their statement may be introduced as early as Wednesday. So watch this space because we will be letting you know as and when the modern awards and terms and conditions of employment through those modern awards are varied so that as employers and employees you can keep up to speed on what's happening with that. So today's spotlight topic is, I know we did the job seeker a job not job seeker JobKeeper payment earlier this week on Tuesday, well, after it had been announced by the Prime Minister on Monday evening. Today is a little bit more of a deeper dive into the JobKeeper allowance. This is certainly an area of requests that's come forward from our audience. Thank you so much, everybody, for your questions. And things have been evolving slightly every day. So we're going to do another sort of review of the JobKeeper allowance. Things to consider in terms of the JobKeeper allowance, and I'll just go through the details in terms of the JobKeeper payment. In terms of employers, in order to get the JobKeeper payment, you must register your intention to apply on the ATO website. And you will need to provide an assessment that you have or will experience the required turnover decline. If your turnover is under $1 billion per year, then that will be a 30% decline you need to demonstrate. If your income, or your turnover, I should say, is over $1 billion a year, you'll have to demonstrate a 50% reduction in income. You will need to provide information to the ATO on eligible employees. This includes information on the number of eligible employees that you had in your business on the 1st of March and those currently employed by the business at the time that you register your interest. So these will include those staff that you have stood down or rehired. And for most businesses, the ATO will be using the single touch payroll data to pre-populate the employee details for the business. Now, that situation is only at the point of where you can register interest. It's very important that you do that, even if you're not entirely clear at this point in time whether you'll be eligible. It makes a lot of sense to register, because the ATO will then notify you that they've received your interest, and they will keep you updated. Parliament is being recalled to deal with the legislation associated with this latest support package, which includes JobKeeper. So once we have the legislation, we will have greater granular detail about eligibility and what employers are going to need to do. But please register in the first instance, even if you think it's a possibility that you could be eligible. The JobKeeper payment is to ensure that each eligible employee receives at least $1,500 a fortnight before tax. For employees that were already receiving this amount from you as an employer, they'll continue to receive their regular income according to their prevailing workplace arrangements. For any employees that have been receiving less than this amount, as employers, you will need to top up their income to the employee up to the $1,500 a fortnight provided before tax. And for those employees earning more than this amount, the employer is able to provide them with a top up. So you need to notify your eligible employees that you're receiving the JobKeeper payment when indeed, if indeed you are eligible and provided it. And then you'll need to continue to provide information to the ATO on a monthly basis, including the number of eligible employees employed by your business. So in terms of the, as I said before, in terms of the reduction in turnover, there's very good information on the Treasury website for employers and employees. We will give you those links. Fact sheets are being updated every day, so we will be giving you the updates every day. So it's important to know that. In terms of when will employers see the JobKeeper payment? So the first payment is expected to go out in the first week of May and backdated to the 30th of March. The subsidy is a temporary measure and will last for 6 months. For some businesses, I realise it may feel like time is running out, and that help to get through this waiting period. We've sort of preface some things that you might want to think about while you're waiting for, if you're able to wait for this subsidy, this JobKeeper payment to come through. We'll give you the link in the comments to Business Australia's free business grant finder. It's worthwhile having a look to see what funding might be available to support your business. And you can find out very quickly whether you could be eligible for a range of 1,500 government grants totaling almost 40 billion. And so we'll make sure to provide you with that link. Obviously, check your overheads, particularly things like your energy bill. Business Australia are offering an opportunity to look at alternative energy providers and discounts associated with that. You might also ask for payment relief. It's really important to keep your HR policies in check. If you don't have them, talk to us. You really should have them through this period. And there's been a surge in demand for video conferencing apps, collaboration tools, businesses working from home. That only reinforces the need to make sure that you've got the appropriate policies and procedures in place. So talk to us, please, about how we can help you with that. You can also explore a rent reduction with your landlord. There's certainly been an intention by the government to make sure that there aren't evictions, commercial or residential tenancy, over the next 6 months. And there will potentially be some further relief announced by the government in respect of that. But it may be that you're struggling to or may not be able to make your rental payments. We've got access to some templates if you want to explore a commercial rent reduction. So ask us about that and we'll make sure that you have access to that information. It's really important at this time, which is part of the reason for us doing these daily live streams, to make sure that you build and nurture your business support during this time. Out of sight doesn't mean out of mind. It's really important to reach out and connect with others, whether that be your team or other support mechanisms like this, so that you can connect with other people and keep up to date. It's a good time to refresh your LinkedIn profile, organise virtual coffee catch-ups, and particularly with people who you know and whose opinions you value. Share ideas, seek solutions, and talking through challenges can help you get a different perspective on your own business and potentially open up new opportunities. Very important, as I said at the outset, to remember to register your intent for the JobKeeper payment on the ATO website. And when the ATO comes to you and asks you for the eligible information, that you provide that. It would be helpful to talk to your accountant in the meantime about the likelihood of you being eligible for that information. Okay, so the ATO is going to reimburse you on a monthly basis in arrears in terms of the JobKeeper payment. So even if your employee is usually paid less than $1,500 a fortnight, including staff stood down, you need to pay them the full $1,500 less tax. Have you already terminated employees? If you have, you are able to reinstate them if they were your employees as at the 1st of March. And they would need to agree to that, however. So if you want to reinstate some or all of your employees, then I would suggest that you get in touch with us, because each business is unique, of course, and we want to make sure that you're doing all of the things that you can be doing to support and sustain your business where at all possible through this COVID-19 pandemic. Can you reinstate and then immediately stand down? The answer to that is yes. So reinstate simply means that you're putting somebody back onto your books, so to speak. You would then, if you're getting the JobKeeper payment, you would then be paying them $1,500 a fortnight less tax. If your business is not back to normal after the 6-month JobKeeper period, can staff then be stood down or made redundant? The answer to that question is yes. Part of the intention of the government in respect of this payment is to allow businesses that have had to close some or all of their operations and potentially make staff redundant to bring them back in theory, stand them down and provide them the JobKeeper payment for this next 6 months rather than them being redundant. But again, your staff who you have terminated or made redundant would need to agree to that. So register with the ATO. I can't emphasize that strongly enough. Even if you're not sure whether you might be eligible, really important to register. Talk to your accountant, your tax advisor, your bookkeeper about your business financial position and what might be possible. I would also, we're going to put the links up in the comments, but I would also refer you to Roberts and Morrow's. They're running a webinar today at 11:30 for businesses to understand what the stimulus packages mean for you, and they're going to preview that today in an interactive webinar. So, and they've also got another one running tomorrow, I do believe, for employees and families and households to understand what the implications will mean for you. So we will provide those links in the comments, but I encourage you to go and have a look at those webinars. We're obviously here to help you. Contact us anytime. As I said, 24/7 we're available at this point. And we'll provide those contact details in the comments. Okay, so I have had some really interesting questions that have come forward in the last 24 hours that I want to be able to answer for you. And one of them has actually preempted a special topic that we'll be running on Monday next week. Tomorrow we're going to look further into reshaping and reducing your staffing numbers if you need to do that. I know we did that earlier in the week, but we've had a lot of traffic and a lot of questions about that. So we're going to do a deeper dive on that tomorrow. Also, and on Monday, what we're going to be talking about, because of the questions that I'm about to raise and answer, that we're going to be talking about is workers' compensation and COVID-19. So anything and everything you want to know about your workers' compensation obligations as an employer, or if you're an employee, what happens in terms of workers' compensation claims during COVID-19. We will be doing a special presentation topic on that on Monday. So firstly, before I get into the workers' comp side, we had a question in the last 24 hours where we've got an organisation with a staff member returning from a respiratory illness. They've been away for about 3 weeks. The staff member didn't have enough paid leave for during that time, and so the business asked us whether they could actually allow the staff member to take paid leave in advance. My answer to that question was absolutely. That's entirely at the employer's discretion. So if you have staff away for any reason, for illness or injury, then you could certainly offer that to them, but that is entirely at your discretion. Otherwise, they can take unpaid personal carers leave in those circumstances. The other question that I had with another organisation was somebody else returning from a respiratory related illness who still has residual symptoms but is receiving medical clearance that they are not contagious in any way. The question that we were asked was, there are going to be staff in the team that are going to be nervous about somebody coming back into the work environment with symptoms that could be consistent with COVID-19. So what we recommended to them was that as part of the fitness for work certificate, that they would ask their staff member to provide from their doctor to indicate that they were fit to return to work and do their duties, that they were no longer contagious for whatever condition they had, that you also ask the doctor to certify whether or not they've been tested for COVID-19 and whether in the doctor's opinion there is any need for that to happen. If there is a need for that to happen, the recommendation is that that happen before they return, and that issue is dealt with in the return to work certificate of fitness from the doctor. If that isn't the case, that a COVID-19 test needs to happen, that is also communicated, and why in the fitness for work certificate. The other thing we also recommended to this business is that they seek the staff member returning from illness permission to clarify to the team that a number of facts, that the person is no longer contagious, or perhaps wasn't contagious in the first place, but they're returning because they're well enough. The doctor certified their return. They're not going to pass anything on to anybody else. And potentially also answer the question of testing for COVID-19. Now, a returning staff member could well decide that they don't want to give you the okay to share that information with their team, which is absolutely fine because it is confidential information. But if you explain to the staff member that it may help to reassure their team members, particularly if they still have any kind of symptoms which they may not be contagious, but may still cause alarm in their colleagues, that it may be best to try and get in and address that up front rather than having a degree of anxiety in the work environment. So we'll see how that particular employer goes with that situation, but I thought that would be helpful to share that query that we had and the answer that we provided to that. I'm just going to do a little quick, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to do just a very quick answer to the obvious question, and we're going to get into more detail on this on Monday because it's the topic that we will do on Monday, which is workers' compensation and COVID-19. But one of the questions we've had is, am I liable if my worker contracts COVID-19? And the answer to that is, in some circumstances, coronavirus or COVID-19 may be a compensable workplace injury, as a disease is included in the definition of injury, under the Workers' Compensation Act. So to be compensable, work activities must be proven to be the main contributing factor to contracting the virus. Due to the nature of viruses, it may be difficult to determine that employment was the main contributing factor, and obviously each claim would be assessed on its individual merits. So that's one of the questions that we've had. And we will talk further about that, including what type of claims could you expect potentially for a COVID-19 claim. We'll also cover if one of your workers is injured while they're working from home because of COVID-19, will they be covered? The answer to that is yes, they may be covered, and we'll get into that detail on Monday as well. What should I do if my employee turns up for work unwell? How can I best protect my staff? What if I'm having trouble paying my premiums as a result of impacts of COVID-19? So there's a range of different things that we are going to get into on Monday's presentation or Monday's live stream on workers' compensation and COVID-19. Feel free to, in anticipation of that, ask us any questions that you'd like us to pre-consider and answer for you in that live stream. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Please share the fact of these live streams and with anybody that you think would find them beneficial. If you have any specific questions about your business or want us to help you out, contact us anytime. Email, Facebook. We're also on LinkedIn. We've got web details, all of which will be provided to you in the comments. Tomorrow we'll be focusing on how to reduce part of your staff and the different options available. So if you need to potentially start reducing your staffing numbers, you may not be at the point of considering closure, but it is very important to be maintaining your business viability as we go through this period of time, which we don't know when it's going to end in terms of that. So please invite your friends and colleagues to join us tomorrow. As I said, at 11:30, Armidale Accountants, Roberts and Morrow, or they're actually based across our region, not just Armidale. Roberts and Morrow are hosting a webinar providing more information from a financial perspective. We'll give you those links. Please stay safe and well and at home where you possibly can. Wash your hands, and we will see you tomorrow. So thank you so much.